So if I today do a little bit of review of reflections and translations, then tomorrow it's just going to be a work day. I'm going to give you a worksheet, basically practice problems that you can do, and then I'll give you the key, and then you can see if you're doing them right. And this is kind of getting us ready for a test. The test is not on Wednesday. The test is on Thursday of this coming week. Okay, so we've got a few days before we have this test. On Wednesday, we will do an official review where we cover everything we've covered. But right now, we're focusing on the hardest kind, which is horizontal and vertical reflections and translations, and then the order that we do things in. All right. Now, I'm going to say it's slightly different than what these slides say. I know that's a little annoying, but I've found, because I teach pre-calc, I know where you're going. I know how we do it in pre-calc. If you do it the way I'm going to tell you, it's going to work here, and it's going to work in pre-calc. That way you don't have to like relearn a different system next year. You get what I'm saying? I think this is what I'm about to show you is the best way to do it. But we are going to learn basically the order that they have to go in. All right, so if I just look at this and it says describe the transformations, I would say that's got to go to the right, and it's got to go, what's that? A what stretch? Vertical stretch. And I try to give you these dumb little words to help remember which kind of like, if you're going to do a reflection, whether it was a vertical or horizontal, but there's a lot of little things to remember. High-vo is got to be you've got to know that one. Horizontal on the inside, vertical on the outside. So you had to know this is a vertical. Is it going over anything? No. Vertical stretches just go up and down. If this was a reflection, it would be a zertical. If there was a negative right there, then it would be a zertical, meaning it's going over the x. It's just a dumb made-up word that helps you remember which axis it's going over. All right, I want you to do it my patented way, which is take a guess kind of where this should be. Like, should it be like there? You figure out where you think this should be and make a quick sketch. And then I want you to find just 2 points on it. We'll save even more time. Just sketch where you think it's going to be and then make an XY chart. 2 points to verify you're in the right neighborhood. I'm going to pause for a sec. Okay, turn your sketches my way and I'll tell you if it's generally looking right. Yep, that's generally in the right place. Generally good, 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 good. Yup, yup, yup. Everybody's moving it to the right. And the stretches sometimes aren't as good. Everybody I pointed at, you have the right general area. All right, so it's over to the right, and it's kind of tight, as in not a simple loose parabola. It's pretty tight. Now how tight? Well, then we'll find out exactly when we put in our dots. I'm going to make my guess be about like that. Okay, now I'm going to put in some points. When you put in 0, you get a huge number. It's not even worth graphing because it's going to go way off the graph. Tell me something you found. There was a point. 1. And I put in a 1. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. 1, 8. Very good. Over 1, up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wasn't too far off on that one. Thea, tell me another point.
2.
Okay. Tell me what happens now. Walk me through it. I put in the 2 and I get 2 minus 3. What's that? Negative 1 squared. What's that? 1. 1 times 2. What's that? 2, 2. Over 2 up 2. Ha! I was pretty much on again. Yay. Okay. How about we do one more? In the back. Miss Aubrey. 3, 0. 3 was a good point to pick. Anytime you can zero something out in the equation, that's smart. So now, second here. 3 goes in. That's 0, 0, 0. 3, 0. Okay, now I know I'm doing it right. I think you get the idea. That's going to work for you for all of this stuff. You can even forget what order you're supposed to do it in, and you can still do this. But let's talk about order. It is one of the most wrong, back up just to that one, the one we just did. Does the order matter? Just think of it this way. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, but you have to be able to say what order you should do it in. In this case, it wouldn't have actually mattered which one we had done first. But we're still going to tell you an order. And I'm going to go off to the side here, and I need you to get some blank space. If you need to, add a page. What I'm about to teach you, this order thing is a really big deal. It's complicated this year. It's even more complicated next year. Actually, this year's just about as bad. It's just harder to remember because we don't take very long on it next year. Okay, write that one down. It's a parabola that's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things happen to it, and you have to know what order to do it in. Now, I can tell you that you can start on the inside or you can start on the outside, and I am finally going to give in. Most of my colleagues start on the outside. It doesn't matter. It's the same. You get the same result. I like to start on the inside because that's where we normally do things. Like, don't we normally start on the inside? But everybody else wants to start on the outside. So fine, the keys are written that way. It'll just confuse you if I start on the inside. But it won't matter. So again, I'm going to do from the outside in just because that's what everybody else does, and it does work. Okay? Just so you know, though, you could have started on the inside and it would work fine. All right. So we're going to start on the outside where life is easy. Why do I say life is easy? Because on the outside, you can trust everything. And I have a 3 there, and I have a -1 there. And I can trust that the multiply happens before the subtract. You know, the order of operations, multiplies come before subtract, right? So that first thing we have then is a what kind of stretch? It's on the outside, so vertical. So that's a vertical stretch. And I'm fine with you calling it a V stretch. And I like this. A colleague of mine said BFO by a factor of 3. And you can say factor 3, that's fine. But BFO is a little faster than writing factor of. BFO by a factor of. Okay, number 2. That end thing, that is a down 1. Now on the inside, the third step right here, this is the one where if you get this right, you'll probably get the rest of it right. This step right here. Because once you go inside, a kid has to remember multiple things. First, you have to remember that the stuff on the inside is a different order than normal. And everything in there is the opposite of what you would think. You would think that it's going to be a stretch and make it twice as wide. It's not. It's actually a shrink by a factor of a half. All right? But this is all on the inside. How much is true? But everything else, be careful, because the order's backwards. And stretches aren't really stretches, they're shrinks, and that seems like it should be to the right. It's actually to the left. Okay, so anyway, if you're going to screw this up, it's going to be right here, because the outside stuff's easy. All right, so now, would you agree that parentheses are the first thing in the list of the order of operations? And therefore they are last, because everything's backwards on the inside, okay? So we're going to do that last. Instead, we are going to do this. Now this, happily, you can do either way. It does not matter. I will tell you from my personal experience, I think you should stretch before you flip, just like in gymnastics. You don't do your flip and then stretch out. You stretch out first so you don't snap your Achilles when you're doing your flip. So anyway, stretch before you flip. It doesn't really matter because this is part of the same number. So I'm going to personally do the horizontal, not stretch in this case. It's actually a shrink. BFO. Be careful, not a 2. A 1/2. Number 4 is, well, could I say horizontal? Yes, I can say horizontal reflect, but that's over the, remember, horizontal y. I'd like you to put over the y. When you say horizontal, you say over the y right away. It just, because oftentimes what happens is they're going to give you multiple choice answers, and they're not going to say horizontal reflect. They're going to say a reflect over the y. Get what I'm saying? So you can't just depend on, well, I know it's horizontal. You got to know that that's horizontal. The y is what it's reflecting over. If you make a little picture, you can always help yourself with this. It's reflecting over this way because that's horizontal, like the horizon. And it's reflecting over which one? It's going over the y. Okay. And now have I got anything left? Yes, there's still that 4. So the 5th step is left 4. This step is the crucial one. As soon as you go on the inside, that's where, if you're going to mess it up, that's where you're going to mess it up. Is because you got to remember everything's backwards, even including the order that you do things is backwards. All right, so I'm not going to give you another one. It's going to be a little easier than this, but I want you to just write down step 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to make it 3. All right, so try this one, see if you caught this order thing. That's a parabola. It had 3 things happen to it. What's first, second, and third? Okay, we start on the outside where things are easy. You should have said vertical. And I suggested stretch before you flip, but it actually doesn't matter because a negative and the 2 are part of the same number. Another way you could argue it is it's a multiply question, and then if it's multiply, it doesn't matter which one's first. They're both multiplies. Anyway, either way, I'm going to say vertical stretch, factor 2, BFO, and then vertical reflect over, vertical is vertical x. Number 3, we go to the inside and we got a, most dangerous one. I hope you remember this. Because kids go, horizontal, stretch by factor of 4. What is it actually? Horizontal shrink, factor of what? 1/4. Very good. 4 got weird there. I'm going to fix that. There.
So if you started from the inside, you would...
Yes, alternate route. If you wanted to start on the inside, you would just reverse and put this to be first, and the other 2 would be in the same order they were in.
Okay.
But we're going to try to do it all the same as each other, and I'm trying to do this because it's not just on the higher algebra team. Some of the teachers in calculus also like to start on the outside, even though the inside is more logical to me. But we'll stick to starting on the outside. Try to remember to do it that way. It's just less likely I'll mark it wrong by accident. If I do, if I mark something wrong by accident, you catch me, of course I'll fix it. But okay, so the order is what it's all about. One more, no help at all. Let's see if you can do this one. It's going to be a 5-parter. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there's 5 things. Try to tell what the order is. Now pause for a second while you do that. One of the things I mark wrong the most, and that's what order should you do it in.